Hey, how's it going? Today I'm talking about strength training for when stretching hurts you. This is Running to the Castle, a podcast for injury-prone Run Disney runners on a journey to running magical miles. Join me, Dr. Allie, as I share the secrets I've gathered as a runner, doctor of physical therapy, and coach. You'll learn the exact ways I get my clients to the castle strong without feeling broken or held together with KT tape as they cross the finish line. Okay, so if you haven't listened to episodes 93 and 94 yet, listen to those as well. This episode is specifically for someone who has specific symptoms related to their injury. I talk about those specific symptoms in episode 93. Then I talked about in 94 what to do instead, which included strength exercises, but I didn't want to get it all nitty-gritty in that episode. So today, in this episode, I'm talking about this. I'm going more in depth with the strength exercises. So if you've determined that you need strength exercises because stretching is making you worse, this episode is for you. So now you know you need strength exercises, but not just any strength exercises. There is a specific type of strength exercises that work to heal tendinitis instead of making it worse. So one thing many runners do when they have tendinitis and know they need to strength train, they grab some dumbbells and start strength training heavy. This goes well for just about a week. And then not only do they have worse aching in their Achilles or their knee, especially at night, they're also sore everywhere else. So I don't want you to make that mistake. So if that's you, that's okay. Listen up. Now you know what to do different. The specific type of exercises you want to do when you have a tendon injury like this is called eccentric exercise. This is where you're lengthening the muscle and the tendon while putting resistance or load through it. So typically when we think of exercises and we picture something in our mind, we think of what's called concentric exercises. This means that the muscle and tendon are shortening. They're getting shorter while you're loading it, while you have resistance through it. A good example is a biceps curl. And yes, biceps with an S is the correct way to say that. If you're holding a dumbbell in your hand and you do a biceps curl, you bend your elbow to bring your hand holding that dumbbell up to your shoulder. When you look at the biceps muscle, it's bulged. It's bulged because it's short. When you bring that dumbbell back down, the biceps uncurls and lengthens. So that second part is the eccentric part of the exercise. When you do an eccentric exercise, you actually work the muscle and tendon harder than you do in the concentric motion. This is because your muscle has to work harder because you're also fighting gravity from letting that hand and dumbbell fall to the ground. You're also fighting the mechanism of the muscle working. See, muscles have fibers in them that in order to move, they slide up and down with each other. And they need to lock into each other to stay connected and not break. So when you're doing an eccentric exercise, your muscle fibers are getting further and further away from each other while also needing to stay holding on to each other, so it's harder to stay connected. Eccentric exercises work so well with tendinitis because you start building up the fibers that have already had micro tearing. So they're trying to hold on to each other while they're pulled further apart, and this builds the strength and the connection better. So you're essentially stretching them apart, but instead of keep going on the stretching and telling them to go further and further apart and breaking the connection more, they're actually trying to hold on for dear life because of the dumbbell so they can build that connection better. So what's a good example of an eccentric exercise? It's when you do the return to starting position slower, and that's the focal point. So for a normal heel raise, you start by standing flat foot, and the focal point is pushing up on your toes, raising your heels off the ground. And then you return to the starting position by lowering your heels to the ground. So what would the eccentric version be? The eccentric version would be the second half, the lowering of the heels. Do this half as fast, or said another way, twice as slow. Think sloth's pace, and focus on a slower lower to the floor. The kicker with these, the dosage. Even if a runner has heard that they need to focus on the return to starting position, they may work on it for 2 to 3 months, as is the appropriate amount of time to see results with strength exercises. But they aren't doing enough repetitions or often enough. When I first learned this protocol in grad school during my Achilles tendinopathy research, I think my jaw actually dropped. It is so much. You need 180 repetitions each day. 180. 180 repetitions. Okay, go ahead and pick your jaw up off the floor. I know it's a lot, but that's what the Alfredson protocol for non-insertional Achilles tendinopathy for recreational runners is. So that's the strength exercise to do when you have tendinitis. I hope that helps. For the runners that want to finish their next runDisney race stronger and faster so you stop getting injured, you beat the balloon ladies, and you cross the finish line, I invite you to check out my newest program, Stronger, Faster, Finisher. Get the workouts you need to build speed, stamina, and strength. If that sounds like something you're looking for your next race, visit the link in the show notes to learn more. As always, thanks so much for listening. That's all for now. Talk to you soon.